Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to get on. This is the Funding Playbook Business Funding Masterclass. And as I've mentioned many times, is that this training is worth thousands of dollars. This is based on proven results, and most importantly, it is based on experience. We are going to break down a lot of concepts. We're going to be able to provide a lot of value, a lot of education, and a lot of resources for this. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. Now, before we even begin talking about what business funding is and how to obtain business funding and all of these topics, I want to make sure that you understand the benefits of why you would even begin the process of acquiring business funding. So the first thing is that each business EIN is treated separately. And for those of you who don't know what an EIN is an entity identification number. It is a 9-digit number similar to your social security number. And the benefit of a business is that every time you start a business, that business gets an EIN. And so that EIN is treated separately, which gives you more opportunities to get funding, right? The other part is you get access to higher limit funding. So with businesses naturally incur expenses and customers and all of these different things, right? And so banks, they give you much higher funding because for a business, you have more expenses and more expensive expenses. So you have the opportunity to get more funding to handle those expenses in a more professional manner. The other part is that business debts do not show up on the personal credit report. So just as we talked about the EIN being separate, because it has an EIN, you have a separate credit report from your business. So now you get double the opportunity to invest and leverage and grow your business, leveraging business funding, and those debts will not show up on your personal credit. I can't tell you how many times being in this industry and working with so many people that people have used their personal credit to invest and grow in their business, and they have destroyed their personal credit with high utilization. Instead, you can use business funding, and because it has a separate credit report, your personal credit report is not damaged in that, right? And then ultimately, because of that, you can even use and leverage business funding to help clear up the personal debts, right? So the most important part of this, and the whole reason that you would even go through this process, is really ultimately learning how to fund your business on demand. And so the question I always like to ask people is, how would you like to fund your business on demand without risking your own money, right? Very, very important question. And it is possible, right? But however, you do have to understand a few key components first, and it ultimately sets the foundation. And that is what this class is ultimately for. Now, during the next couple minutes, I'm going to be sharing with you information, right? And I'm going to be showing you how to maximize your funding probability to know what a good credit report looks like and how to structure yours. People all the time, right? They hear, okay, I want to get to a 700 credit score. I want to get to a 750 credit score, right? And I see it all the time that more people become so focused on the credit report score, the credit score, as compared to what the credit report looks like. And it's more important to have the structure and showing history that you can manage the accounts rather than just the score. And we're going to get into that in just a little while. The other point is you want to be able to find and easily eliminate any issues on your credit report when you understand how to access and read your credit report, right? So to begin with, you have to know how to access your credit report, and you have to know how to actually read and comprehend and understand the information that you're reading and that is being shown on your credit report. And then you want to be able to find and eliminate any issues that you find, so that way you get an ideal, perfect credit report. Then you want to be able to take the first steps towards repairing your personal credit when you learn how to dispute any errors and have them removed from your credit report, right? Even if you're in a position right now where you have negative information, right? It could be collection accounts, it could be late payments, it could be anything, right? If when you learn how to read the credit report, you're able to learn how to find inaccuracies, and then based on those inaccuracies, you're able to get the negative information removed, right? And ultimately, you want to learn how to mitigate disapprovals and increase the amount you get funded when you learn how to understand to structure your business. Just because you have a business does not mean that you're necessarily treated as a business. We want to show you how to structure your business so that you're seen as an actual business owner and that you present it as an actual business instead of just a hobby, right? Now, ultimately, this is perfect for people who want to access funding on demand, right? You want to be able to access funding anytime you need it for any opportunity that you have the opportunity to invest into. You want to be able to increase your buying power, right? With funding, it's a lot easier to fund yourself $100,000 than it is to try to save $100,000. So that's when we really talk about increasing the buying power and being able to capitalize on opportunities that you may not have otherwise had access to. And in order to do that, you want to be able to get high limit approvals, not just getting approved, right? Not these 500, not these $1,000 limits, but you want to be able to get, 5, 10, 15, 20, $30,000 approvals and more when you know how to set the foundation. And ultimately, just like I talk about all the time, you want to create more leverage. Leverage gives you the opportunities and access to opportunities that you may not have otherwise had. And it's important to use leverage the right way. And like we use leverage to grow the business, right? And then you want to know the exact steps to make the bank your best friend. I see so many people all the time, like they're worried or things like this. They're not really sure how the bank operates or how the funding works. And so you want to know with confidence that you know how to deal with these banks, and that when you put yourself in a position, then you're able to get the funding that you need. And again, we're able to get it on demand. Now, before I really get into breaking all of this down and kind of giving you some more insight, is I want to be able to tell you why I'm even qualified to give you this information, right? What even gives me the right to, to take your time and educate you on this topic. And so the most important part that I believe the foundation that any of this begins is that a mentor is not someone who walks ahead of you. A mentor walks alongside you to show you what you can do. And again, you only know how to do that based on experience and giving proven results, right? And so my name is Mr. Dorsey. I am a funding expert and a business strategist. I have been an entrepreneur now since 2013. So 11 years, right? I have seen the highs, I've seen the lows, I've seen so many different great things and so many different challenges that I've overcome in my 11 years being an entrepreneur. We, using this information, we fund millions of dollars annually in funding for so many different projects and so many different industries, right? So again, we're able to give you this information because we're hands-on with it every single day. And the ultimate part is when you come from experience, I've invested thousands of hours gaining experience by correcting over 7 figures worth of losses to provide you the correct information without trial and error. I have already made the mistakes. I've made more mistakes than I can count over the course of that 11 years. But the most important part is that I gained the experience. And so now you don't have to take the time or make the same mistakes that I did, because I'm going to literally give you the game and give you an exact blueprint to follow. Now, the old way, traditional way of thinking is that using years of research, going through trial and error, only to come up with incomplete information. Again, I've invested thousands of hours to learn this information. The other old way of thinking is that trying to earn and save income to reach your dreams or support your family. Again, it is easier to fund yourself $100,000 than it is to try to save $100,000. And ultimately, when you don't have this information, you're either constantly being denied, or worst case, you're being approved, and you're being approved with high interest rates. Now, the other way is that, again, using earned revenue to continually invest back into your business. Instead of using your earned revenue, you want to be able to leverage funding so that you can keep the cash flow on hand so that you're not, making three, four, a couple $100 or a couple $1,000 and then investing all of that money back into your business. You're able to leverage funding in order to free up that cash flow and grow your business. The new way of thinking empowers you with financial education to take back control of you, right? It's all about being empowered and understanding how the system works so that you can operate and navigate the system with confidence. And by doing that, you gain an expert level of understanding of the banking system and how to acquire high limit funding. And I talk so much about leverage. It gives you the opportunity to leverage other people's money, or as we call it in the industry, OPM, to build wealth, right? And it ultimately gives you a higher status with banks to use them as tools or assets to grow your business. They are just a tool, and you want to be able to leverage them in order to grow your business. Now, over the last couple of years, there are ultimately three categories of clients that I work with, and it's very important that you understand where you are in this process. So ultimately, I work with business owners who are tired of using their hard-earned revenue to grow their business. They want to be able to free up some of the cash flow and leverage funding to create more cash flow for their business. I also work with already successful 6, 7-figure, and 8-figure business owners who ultimately just want to increase their buying power so that they can make bigger investments. And the other person that I really work with is the startup entrepreneur who is really looking for the exact blueprint to follow and fund and grow their business so that they're not bootstrapping or so limited in the beginning stages of that business. Now that you kind of get the overview, right? The idea, now I want to be able to show you how to actually set the foundation of these key components, right? Being able to immediately put it into action. Now, the most important part of this is that, especially for someone who is starting out, you have to understand your credit report. Because if you don't know your credit report, whether your personal credit report or your business credit report, then you're not going to be able to get anywhere because you don't know the starting point of where you're at. And when you understand your credit report and you understand what it looks like, you're able to maximize your funding opportunities and the probability when you know how to structure your credit report. Now, these are kind of some key information starting out with is that all of the information must line up exactly across all of the credit reporting agencies. So for anyone who is not aware, on the personal credit side, which is what we are discussing right now, there are 3 main credit reporting agencies that everyone should know about, right? There's Experian, there's TransUnion, and there's Equifax. And you want to make sure that all of your information lines up exactly for TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax, all 3 of them. And a key point that a lot of people miss is that you ultimately really want one name and one address for instant approvals, and that does include employer information as well too. And it's important to notice these statistics on the side. 21% average for credit denials. That is almost a quarter of applications get denied. And most commonly, they are denied for misinformation, right? And then the national average credit limit is only $3,952. And I'm going to be able to show you guys some results later on what we're able to get our clients even on initial approvals after being able to follow this blueprint and this information. So getting back into the report statistics is that the number one reason that people get denied is non-matching information, right? So they may be living at 123 Main Street on TransUnion, but then, for example, on Experian, it may be 345 Main Street, which are 2 different addresses. So now they don't know which location you're at or that individual is at, so they wouldn't know whether be able to verify their identity. And most commonly, that is the reason that people get denied, is for non-matching information. And it's also important to know this because 1 out of 10 people don't have any credit. They have no credit history at all. And the average credit score for those of who do have a 714, but when we get into the structure, a lot of people may have a 714 credit score, but their structure and their profile isn't built properly. And so even though they have a great score, they still end up getting denied, right? And then 79% of people never even check their credit score. And you have to monitor your credit because it's kind of like a doctor, right? It's like when you have a report, the credit report is being able to diagnose the issue so that you know what specific operations to take. And if you never check your credit score, you never check your profile, you don't know if there's accurate information or what information is being reported on your behalf. And then over here to the right, we just kind of want to get into showing you some examples of what the information should look like when you are looking at your credit report, right? You should see where you have one name. So you can see the TransUnion, you can see Equifax, and you can see Experian. Again, this is going over the personal information. You want one name. So you want John Doe across all three credit reporting agencies. Sometimes you might see like John Doe, and then you might see like John C. Doe, right? And that's different information. And you have to think about you're not the only John Doe. There are millions of other John Does in the world. And so you have to make sure that your information lines up so that they are pulling your exact and the most accurate information. You also want to make sure that your birth date lines up, right? Your social security numbers, all of your current residencies. This is what I'm talking about. You want to make sure all of your current residencies are the same. And then if you have any prior residencies, you want to make sure that those are the same as well too. Now, this is where we get into the data points. So this is where we actually talk about structure of the credit report and not just the score. So the number one thing is you can see these factors. These are the factors here in this column. So we're going to discuss utilization, inquiries, payment history, your average age, if there are any derogatory remarks at all, and total accounts. And then over here, just so you understand the chart, this information is for TransUnion, this information is for Experian, and this information is for Equifax. Now, when we are discussing utilization, that is for your revolving account. So for your credit cards, right? For your revolving credit cards, your utilization, even though they give you a credit limit, you do not want to max out that credit limit. I know a lot of people believe, in my experience, that, if they get $1,000 credit limit, they're like, okay, I can use this $1,000 for whatever I want to use it for. And then it's true, but it's not necessarily true. It's possible that you can do it, but if you use more than a certain amount, then it limits you, right? Or it reports negatively on your behalf. So it's important to note that in order to stay under the penalization for being penalized for your utilization, you want to stay between 1 and 29%, right? So you want to stay less than 30%. So for example, if you have a credit card and that credit card has $1,000 limit, that below that 30%, you want to be using less than $300. So in this situation, if it's 29%, you want to be using less than $290 of that $1,000 credit card. But ultimately, that's kind of the minimal. You really want to be less than 10% at the time that you are submitting applications and going to do funding. So for example, on a $1,000 credit card, less than 10%, you really want to be utilizing less than $100 balance at the time that you are submitting applications to go for funding. And that's very, very important. And you want that for each account, right? And you want to make sure that it's reporting for TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. Inquiries. This is very, very important, especially when a lot of people just look at the credit score, because credit inquiries do not hurt your credit score very much. But what they indicate to the banks is how, quote unquote, how credit desperate you are, right? How thirsty someone is for credit. So if they see a lot of inquiries in a short amount of time, then they're going to say, okay, this person is desperate for credit. So now we're a little bit more cautious on giving them, on extending them credit or approving them for the funding that they are requesting. So inquiries, it's important to note it here that inquiries show up on your credit report for 2 years, but they really only matter for the last 6 to 12 months. So they're going to show up on your credit report for 2 years, but banks are really only looking for inquiries really within the last 12 months. These last 6 months are when they're the most impactful. And then as you start to phase out for 12 months, then they become less impactful. And then anything over 12 months, you're good to go. Now, you want less than 2 inquiries within the last year on your credit report when you're doing applications, right? Payment history. Very, very important. You want 100% payment history, not 99, not 98, right? Nothing of that nature. You want 100% payment history and no late payments, because if you already have late payments, or if you have any late payments, kind of the perception to the bank is, okay, if they miss this payment, or they couldn't manage the funding that they already have, then why should they extend any more funding or any more credit to you? So you want to make sure that you take that factor out of there, and you want to make sure that it's 100% payment history. Now, credit age, you ultimately want it over 4 years. So you want an average age of 4 years of credit, because it shows experience. Banks, especially in this climate, they want to see that you have experience managing the credit that you already approved before they give you any more, right? The next part is derogatory remarks. So no collections, no bankruptcies, no charge-offs. Again, just like the payment history, if you have a collection account or you have a charge-off account being reported on your credit report, then they're going to see that it was a default, and then now they're not going to want to extend you the credit, right? So it's very, very important that you know how to find your credit report, find these derogatory remarks if you have any, so that you can find the inaccuracies on those, so that you can get them disputed. And then getting back down to here, the total accounts, you want 10 plus accounts, and you want a credit mix. So you want some credit cards, right? You want some installment accounts. So like credit cards are like revolving accounts. That's your traditional credit card. You have a balance, and then it's doing a monthly basis. You have your installment accounts, which are a account that has a preset payment amount. Very similar. Most people are used to these as like auto loans, personal loans, mortgages, things of that nature. And you want multiple accounts to show that you can manage credit, right? And it is important to note here at the bottom, these are the ideal metrics for maximum approvals. They are not necessarily the absolute determinants in order to get you approved. We try to put you in the position to maximize the funding. We don't just want you to get approved for 4 or 5, a couple $100 or a couple $1,000. We want you to get big limits, 10, 15, 20, $30,000 limits that you can invest into your business, right? Now, being able to access your credit report, very, very important, because if you don't know how to access your credit report, then you don't even know what information is being reported on your behalf, and you don't know what information they are going to be reviewing. So you want to be able to easily find any issues on your credit report and understand how to access and read your credit report, right? So let's get right into it. Now, there is a platform. We make this very, very simple. If you're not already on it, we want to make sure that you have access to it, because this is a professional dashboard for you. So if you'll see up here, it is creditistheplay.com. You'll go there, you will make an account. So you can use this two ways. We use this as a professional dashboard for our clients, so that you don't have to be printing paper and kind of scrolling through and trying to highlight and circle things on your credit report. This is going to give you a professional dashboard to view your credit report. And then also, if you're in a position where you have inaccurate or negative information on your report, we also give you this platform as a free platform in order to dispute any of the information on your behalf. And you can kind of see any of this down here. So you have your setup fees. We have $0. You can see, traditional credit repair can be, 100, 200. I've seen, credit repair be $1,500, $2,500. A monthly fee. We don't have any monthly fees. You do it for yourself. And, you can kind of see that right there. Credit monitoring again is having access to your credit report. So it's just like the doctor, they have to be able to run that test and see the information before they can diagnose the situation. The same thing here. So we have access to a credit monitoring service so that you can see detailed information over all 3 credit reporting agencies, right? So Once you get here, you'll make an account. And as you can kind of see right here, when you log in, this is a professional dashboard right here for you. So you can see over here, it has a home tab. You can see your credit reports, gives you the opportunity to create dispute letters. If you've already created dispute letters, you can see the letters you've already created. We give you the outline for the steps, exact steps on how to do your credit repair. We can give you a credit repair ebook, as we talked about earlier in building out the number of accounts on your credit report. We give you credit builder accounts right here for you. You get access to the rookie program. This is where you will upload your documents, so like your identification documents, the support. If you have any support as far as like technical questions, you have that in here. And then obviously you can make your account updates and situations right there. But you can see it has all of the information listed for dispute, if there's any negative items, and then your scores right there. Now, disputing your credit report, because once you see the credit report and once you see the information, you want to be able to identify and dispute any of those errors. So we're going to show you how to take the first steps towards repairing your personal credit when you know how to dispute errors and have them removed from your credit report. And the best part about it is you don't have to be an expert, because we've built this system from an expert level. So if you do have to go into a situation where you're disputing negative information, there's a tab here. It says create the dispute letters. When you do that, it's going to automatically list the information for you. So it's going to show you the account. It's going to show the consumer account. This other account right here would show them as a consumer account. If there's any inquiries, you can see it lists the account, and it also lists the inquiry as well too. Now, it's important because let's say we were to click on this Amex account. When you click on the Amex account, it drops down and it shows you all of the information if there is any negative information being reported on your behalf. You can see it's being reported as a collection or a charge off. It shows them it's derogatory. It shows them the balance, right? So once it shows them, and it shows you. So if the information is reporting on TransUnion, it will show you. This account is not reporting on Equifax, but it is showing on Experian. So you can see that. You can compare all of the information right here. And then to make it easy, it even has a suggested dispute reason for you. And all you would do is just click the process dispute reason once you chose it. If for whatever reason you don't like this dispute reason, you just click the drop down menu and it will give you alternate dispute reasons. Now, that's how you would go through and dispute any negative information, right? Now, when it gets into having the business, the personal credit report is great. It is the foundation to get into business funding. But now we're going to get into how to set up your business to operate like a professional business. So you want the proper business structure so that, again, you mitigate disapprovals and you increase the amount you get funded when you know how to properly structure your business. Now, when you properly structure your business and you present your business in a professional manner, we're going to solve the 4 biggest problems that business owners face, which are they don't know how to properly set up their business to run like a business instead of a hobby. Meaning, most people, they have a business, but they're still using their home address, or they're using, an email at the Gmail account, right? Some people may even be using, worst case, their personal email for business reasons, right? And so you want to make sure that it's uniform and professional. You also want to know how to find the right funding opportunities that are ready to support you right now. The funding opportunities are not the same for every single person. They vary for each person, for the credit factors being reported on your personal side and on your business side. And we also want to give you a proven system that gets your business funded with minimal documentation. What I'm saying is this: when you present your business in a professional manner, you are treated as a professional business. So now when you are going for funding and you are presenting your financials, or you're claiming what your business makes, and you're setting yourself up, they're not going to ask for as much documentation because you've already set the foundation, right? Then ultimately, you want to know how to make the banks your business partners. You don't want to have to give up. You don't want to be having to look for investors and, giving up all of these percentages of your business for a business partner to get funding. We're going to show you how to leverage the bank's money. And oftentimes we can get access to 0% interest business funding that we can leverage for investments, which is a lot better than giving up, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% plus of our business to an investor to get funding. Now, let's give you the foundation to setting up your business so that you can present it in a professional manner. And it's important because starting a business and making sure it's set up properly is the foundation, and the journey of 1,000 miles truly does begin with one single step. And when you get the foundation properly, then everything you build on top of that foundation is solid. So let's go into it just from the very basics, because I don't want to make an assumption that you have a business already, or if you do, I want to make sure that you know where you may have any issues and what you need to update to make it better. So for one is you want to create a business name and you want to obtain a domain. Now, you want a business name and you want a domain that matches that business name. So for example, if your business name is ABC Consulting, you want to make sure that the domain available, so you can go to GoDaddy, for example, and buy a website domain for a couple dollars. You want to make sure that ABC Consulting is available, because you wouldn't want your business to be called ABC Consulting and then the ABC Consulting website not available. So now your domain is abcconsulting1.com. It's not uniform, and so therefore it's going to be harder for clients to find you. The other reason, number two, the other reason you want to own your domain is because you want to set up a professional business email address. Again, if your business is ABC Consulting, you do not want your email to be abcconsulting@gmail.com. You want it to be, if your name is Bob, you want it to be bob@abcconsulting.com. Just these minor things present your business in a much more professional manner. Then you want to be able to get a business address, a professional business address. You do not want your home address listed for your business. I'll be honest with you, it's a little bit more acceptable since COVID and the pandemic, but you will get much more funding if you have a business address that has a street address and a suite number. Then you want a business phone number. You do not want to be using your personal phone number for business transactions. The other thing is, once you have your business set up, you have to make your business active. So you get all of these things first. You create your business, you get your business, name, you get your business phone number, you get your business address, and then you're going to go to your state Secretary of State to open the business. And you're going to open the business with the information that you already have, right? And you can do this yourself, or you can do it through a third party, which we're going to give you some resources as well too. Number four, you want to have a registered agent. A registered agent is more for privacy purposes. So now your name is, you're going to put somebody else in position so that they can receive documents on your behalf. So now your name doesn't have to be listed necessarily on all the public information. You just have a registered agent. They will take on that information and they will forward all of that documentation to you. And along with that, you also want to make sure that you have an operating agreement. An operating agreement isn't necessarily required on all funding. It can be in some cases if you have multiple partners, but you want to make sure that you have the operating agreement is more like how your business is going to conduct business and operate whenever certain situations happen. So now when these certain situations arrive, you'll just refer to your operating agreement and you will conduct business as outlined in the operating agreement. Outside of that, number five, you want to get your EIN. Now, the EIN is free, right? You go to irs.gov, you can apply for your EIN. It takes 5 minutes. I'm telling you this is free because if you start Googling EIN and you go on Google, you're going to see all kind of people try to charge you, $300, $400, $500. I've seen ridiculous prices in order for people to go get an EIN, and it's ridiculous because it's free and it only takes a couple minutes. So you want to make sure that you get your EIN, right? Now, the other thing is, especially if you're into government contracting, is you want to obtain your DNB number. DNB stands for Dun and Bradstreet, and it's also a business credit reporting agency for your business credit report. So just like on the personal credit side, you have personal credit reports and personal credit reporting agencies. On the business side, you have them as well too. So you have Dun and Bradstreet, you have business Equifax, and you have business Experian, and you have so many others as well too. Number 6, you want to establish an online presence. So again, you want to build a website. You want to have some YouTube channels. You want to have Facebook. You want to have some social medias. You want to show that you have a way to promote and market and grow your business so that you can actually obtain clientele and use the funding that you're getting to actually grow your business. Number 7, you have to open a business bank account. You cannot be mixing your personal and business finances. You have to get a business bank account and truly set yourself up, because ultimately, until you have the business bank account, even if you have everything else, you're not even really going to be seen as a professional business unless you have a business bank account. So you have to open a business bank account. And then the last part, a lot of people really don't mention it, and it's not necessarily required for funding purposes, but it is very important that I let you know you want to trademark any of your business names, slogans, and logos. So that way, when you're building a business, you're building a brand that you know that you own. And so I always want to make sure that you have access to that. So now getting into the professional look, I want to make sure that I not just tell you what to do, I want to give you some resources and being able to do that. So the business address, right? Getting down here into the business address, you can do instead of your home address, you can use what's called a virtual office, or if your business requires it, you can have a brick and mortar building and you can have a physical location. Now, the amazing thing about a virtual office is that it is a professional place. It gets a physical street number. It also gets a suite number. And so now, instead of your home address being put as the address for the business, you have a virtual office, and they will receive mail on your behalf, and they will forward that mail to you. We'll give you a list of them, but the most common ones that you can look into, there is physicaladdress.com. Again, that's physicaladdress.com. And they're not in every state, but they're an extremely cost-efficient platform to use. Outside of physicaladdress.com, you can use Opus Virtual Offices, or you can use Alliance Virtual Offices, and there's a number of others as well if you Google virtual offices. Now, the reason I say this is because lending as I mentioned, banks are a little bit more lenient with giving you funding based on a home address since COVID, but getting the approval, your limits and your approvals are going to be cut dramatically. And so again, with the same credit report and the same profile, the same structure of the business, you're going to get a lot more funding being structured professionally instead of that home address. You do not want a PO box, and you do not want a UPS address. Those are way too common, and they're not seen as legitimate business, a legitimate place to conduct business. So do not get the PO box and do not get a UPS address. Get an actual virtual office. And another key point to a virtual office that I didn't mention previously, not only can they forward mail to you, but in a lot of virtual offices, if you need them, you can actually rent the office space. So you can have this super nice office that you may pay, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks a month for, in most cases. But then if you have to actually, bring a client in town, you can schedule a meeting at that office, and you get to go to this nice office building that you can sit down with your client. So it looks like you're, paying, commercial leases, but you have that corporate office and that business office without paying thousands and thousands of dollars. And it's also important too, because business credit reporting agencies are going to link to Google Analytics, which is why I say you don't want that UPS or that PO box. Not only is it seen as illegitimate to the banks, your clients aren't going to see it as professional either. Getting on to the next thing, the phone number. Now, you want a business phone number. Most people think that, hey, I have to go to Verizon, I have to go to AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, whoever to get a phone number, and I'm going to have to spend, a couple $100 a month. You do not have to do that. They have what are called VoIPs, which are voice over IPs. The most common ones that we use are Ring Central and Ring Central, my apologies, and Vonage. There's also another one that we use. It's Call 8. That's call with a K. That's KALL, and then the number 8. And what that does is what they do is they give you a business phone number, but you're able to use the phone. So if you have a personal cell phone, which most of us do, right? I assume that you do. When you have that phone number, they're going to forward all of your calls and text messages to that phone so that you can make calls on a business phone number and be seen as professional and set yourself up professional without actually having to use a personal phone number. So it's extremely important. And you can register that business phone number to Google and 411 so that you'll be listed in public databases, and you can use listyourself.net, or you can use yellowpages.com. So very, very important. Getting over to the emails, the websites, the domains. Again, as mentioned, you want a domain, you want to own the domain for your business. So you want whatever your business name, you want to own that domain. It's very simple. You can either go to GoDaddy, or you can go to Google Domains. You can make an account and you can purchase a website from there. The most common what we use, so again, I'm going to use the ABC Consulting example. We use, if your company's ABC Consulting, we suggest either the info@abcconsulting.com or whatever your business is, or the contact at whatever your business name is. The other part to that is you could put your name. So again, I'll use Bob as an example. If your name is Bob, it could be bob@abcconsulting.com. And again, this is important when we talk about the minimal documentation, when you're going in and applying for the funding, having a website and Google set up, just these simple little things, these minor little edits can avoid companies and banks asking for taxes and financial documents just because it looks professional. And it doesn't have to be, this is very important. A lot of people are like, okay, well, to get a website, I'm going to have to, spend thousands of dollars. It doesn't have to be that. It can be a simple one-page website listing you, a picture of you, and the services of what the business offers. It's just the professional foundation of already having it set up, right? And then you being active on social media can help your funding, especially when you're going into higher levels of funding and you have more personal relationships with bankers. They want to show you, they want to see that you're actively using the funding to grow your business, especially in this social media world, right? Now, when you set all of this information, everything I've gone through, right? You are setting the foundation to get high limit approvals. And the reason you go through this is so that you can get access to the most capital possible, so that you can have access to the most opportunity possible to grow your business and make investments. Now, I want to show you the kind of results that we're able to get customers and clients, and the kind of results that you can get by following and setting the foundation to the blueprint. Now, it's important that I say this before I show these results. There's a disclaimer that past performances do not guarantee future results. But again, when you set the foundation, you have the opportunity to get major results and high limit funding. So just to kind of give you some things on the front end, this is a program that we use, Divvy. They are a business credit approval. And they are based on cash flow. So we had a high income business. He had never leveraged funding before at all. He had been using debit cards and cash for everything. His first approval, we were able to get him $100,000 on the business credit side, which was amazing because now he has access to credit. And that also, that 100K account, as mentioned, there are business credit reports and personal credit reports. He now has a $100,000 account being reported to his business credit, which is major, right? Then we have the Chase Business Unlimited. So Chase Bank, one of the major banks that we work with, we were able to get a client approved for $50,000. And this is at 0% interest that they can leverage to grow their business. And they were able to do that with very minimal financial documentation. And the same thing over here with the Chase Business Unlimited. This client on one approval was able to get $75,000. And again, they get that at 0% interest for 12 months that they can leverage and grow and invest into their business, right? Some other results. People ultimately love the American Express cards. So the American Express Business Platinum, it is a business charge card. And again, the same situation as previously. They were already a high income client. They were already a high revenue client. They just didn't leverage funding. They just didn't leverage the credit at all. And so now they were able to do the same situation, and they were able to get $100,000 approval with the American Express Business Platinum. Now, another thing is that you can go to a bank. When you understand how to structure these deals, you can go to one bank and get multiple products. So for example, this client, we used a bank called Key Bank, and they were able to get a business line of credit for $50,000, which is one product that banks offer. And then they were also able to get a business credit card for $40,000, totaling $90,000 from one bank. And then another one we were able to use, one of the banks that we use is Citizens Bank. And this client was able to get $35,000 in business funding. Any card that they had previous to that was like, a couple $1,000, $3, $4, $5, maybe $6,000. They had never had anything over $10,000, and they were able to get $35,000 that they were able to leverage and grow their business. And ultimately, the truth is, at the end of all of this, the truth is that these results are from having a system in place that makes it easy and predictable to fund your business 6+ figures. Again, we are not here to get little baby $500, $1,000, couple $100, just couple $1,000 limits. We are here to give you an opportunity to invest and access large amounts of capital. So we want to be able to put you in position to access 6 figures in capital. Now, again, this information it's for certain people and it's not for certain people. And that's very, very important as we get into the final steps of this, right? Who is this for? It is for business owners who are generating some revenue, but tired of using their own money to grow their business. It's also for the already successful business owner who is already generating, 6, 7, 8 figures, but they just want to increase their buying power. This is also for the startup entrepreneur who is overwhelmed on how they're going to grow and fund your business, right? And some people, again, may be looking for investors or so many different things, or trying to work their way and save cash, and it just makes it so hard, and so they're overwhelmed, and they need access to capital that they can leverage and grow their business. And ultimately, the real benefit to all of this is that this is for people who love purchasing assets without risking their own money. And that's everything that I teach about: purchasing assets and creating cash flow without risking our own money. Now that we went over who this was for, it's important to know who this is not for, right? Because this is not for people who are just thinking about possibly starting a business or just like the idea of funding. You must have a goal in mind or a business started, right? And I say that because when you get funding, obviously, yes, you do have to pay the funding back, and you want to make sure that you have something to actually invest the funding in and being responsible, because it is about creating cash flow and purchasing assets without risking our own money, right? Very, very important. This is also not for people who make excuses and complain. We are a results-driven organization. We are a results-driven program, and we want people to execute and get the results that they're looking for. And you cannot do that if you're making excuses or you're complaining. Again, this is not for people who just want to learn information without being prepared to take action and get results. We want you to take the information. We want you to do more than just say good information, good thing. We want you to be able to take the information and implement the information so that you can get the results that you deserve. And this is not for people ultimately who are not serious about receiving an additional 6+ figures in funding, right? Now, all of this, all of these things that we go through, all of setting the foundation and accessing the credit reports and making sure everything is aligned, all of that is setting the foundation to bring it down to really only two things that matter. It's setting the foundation to maximize your funding opportunities, right? And then it's ultimately getting high limit approvals. Those are the only two things that we're focused on: setting the foundation to put you in the best position possible to get the funding that you need, working with the banks and the people that will give you the most investments or the most capital so that you can make your investments, and then getting those high limit approvals and executing on the funding that you get. And we do this by knowing exactly what it takes not to get denied. Because when you know the reasons that people get denied, then you know what not to do so that you can follow an exact system so that you avoid the steps that people are taking to get denied. And when you avoid those mishaps and those mistakes, then you're able to get the approvals that you're looking for. And you're able to do this by following a simplified process to achieve consistent and high limit funding results, right? Very, very simple. Now, what we created for those who get the opportunities to access this information is giving you everything that you need already so that you can implement it immediately and change your life. So when you look into this, we created the foundation for funding bundle, right? It's my funding playbook. You get a rookie program curriculum. It is a video module course, and it breaks down every single concept in super walkthrough detailed information for you to go through at your own space and at your own pace. And there is a community for you to actually access that. That the value in that is usually about $14,000, a little under $14,000. We also have an ebook, the 100K in 90 Days Resource Guide ebook, which breaks down what business funding is, how to access business funding, and it even gives you particular banks to go to in order to get those approvals. You get a $2,500 value with that. Then we have a business credit made simple ebook. It shows you what business credit is. It gives you access to build business credit. It shows you how to do it. And more importantly than that, we give you a list of hundreds of accounts, just like we do on the personal side I mentioned earlier, but we give you access to hundreds of accounts that you can actually use to build your business credit. So we don't just tell you, what to do and kind of give you the chance to go figure it out on your own. We tell you exactly what to do, who to go to, and when to go to them. You also get an opportunity inside of the program. You get an opportunity to book one-on-one consultations with me or my team. And we do this specifically for those inside of the community because it's more about taking action, right? So to the public, to get me on a 30-minute or hour call, it's about $5,000 for that one-on-one consultation. But because you have taken action in the community, it's not necessarily based on the dollar amount. It's about taking action and being able to work with those who take action, because those who take action on information generate results, and that's ultimately what we're looking for. So those who are a part of the community get the opportunity to book the one-on-one consultations with me or my team. And kind of how we went over through earlier, we kind of gave you a brief introduction. You get the credit repair system, the DIY credit repair system, all of that included. And all of that value, including everything we give, is a little over $22,000. And then with the resources, just because you're on this call and you're accessing this information, we normally sell that program for $997, so $1,000. But because you're on this program, you get it for only $297, and we will make sure to drop that in the chat for you. So now that I've gone through all of this information, right, and all of these processes and all of this value and all these different things, I know it may be a lot, but I want to make sure that I take any chances to clear up any questions or concerns that you may have. So as of currently, right now, everybody is muted. Now, if you will look on your screen for Zoom, there is a button. You should either see a button, if you're on the phone, you should see a button for raise hand feature. If you're on a computer, you would have to click on the reactions tab, and it will give you an opportunity to raise your hand. And if you'll do that, we will give you the opportunity to raise your hand and unmute you and ask all of the questions that you need.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You are unmuted. Hi, Justin. How are
Oh,
you?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. So, one of the things I did have questions about is goes a little bit back to the dispute and the negative stuff. So with the website, I see that you said that we can create these letters. Now, once we find the letters, who, how who would we send these letters to? Will we be sending them directly out to the credit bureaus, or will this letter automatically generate a letter to be sent out? How does that work?
Phenomenal question. I'm actually it's great that you brought that question up. Okay, so within the system, once you create the letter, it will automatically create the letter for you. Now, when it creates the letter, it gives you the address for who you're sending it to. So, for example, if you're sending it to TransUnion, it will automatically populate TransUnion and their address. Now, inside of the system, it will give you an opportunity to either print the letters, so you can print them out and physically mail them yourself to the credit reporting agencies, again, TransUnion, Equifax, or Experian, or the system does give you an opportunity. I have to be transparent. They give you an opportunity for a mail for you option, which is more automated. Now, the reason we give that opportunity just because for a convenience reason, just because someone's starting on their credit report and getting their credit information updated is important, but the better way to do it is to print out the letters and send them certified mail. If you use the mail for you option, there we can't do the certified mailing. But if you print it out and mail it yourself, you can send certified mail. It's like $4 a letter. It is very, very important during this process that you do that, especially when you get access to the training. The reason is because when you send it certified mail, you get a tracking number. So you can track exactly when the credit reporting agencies get that information. The reason that's important is because when you're disputing based on the Fair Credit Reporting Act, they have a certain amount of time that they have to respond, which is usually within 35 days. So if you track that dispute letter, right, on when it was being sent, now you can see the exact day that they got it so that you can start that time clock. So that if they don't respond within that certain time period on your next round of letters, you can include that as evidence with your next dispute reason if it was not previously disputed. Does that make sense? Oh, my bad. I think you got unmuted. My apologies. Go ahead.
Oh no, that makes perfect sense. I just had one last question, then. So I know you said it's 35 days before they have 35 days to respond. So with that also being said, let's say they were to respond back to you, and you have a situation where they're saying, "Hey, we feel like is if this information that we have on file is accurate, what would be the next step, or does the website already have a letter for that particular situation?"
Phenomenal question. So once you get inside of the system, we just did a quick overview. But once you get inside of the system, we have two ways. We have a step by step. So we have step one, and it lists the letters. Step two, step three, step four, and so on and so forth. So it outlines the letter. And then when you get access to the training, so not only do we have a simplified process, kind of like a basic dispute process that is outlined for you already in the dispute process. Once you get access to the training and the video courses, you'll learn how to create more sophisticated or more complex dispute reasons, and you'll actually be able to use like consumer law and other agencies in order to dispute the information and enforce the violations that they have on you.
Okay, perfect, perfect.
Do you have any other questions?
Nope, that's it right there. I other than that, I'm just looking over my notes and stuff. I think only thing I'm missing for my business structure is the domain, which will be taken care of in a few days. Business email and changing of my address and phone number. Um, those are the only things I feel like that would be holding me back right now is just that the domain, the email, and the change of address. Because right now I'm running my business from my home, so JJNH needs to have, like you said, a actual brick and mortar um, public business address.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very, very important. It will help you out a lot, especially when it comes to for funding and for privacy purposes. I didn't really mention that earlier, but for privacy purpose, it helps a lot because these business addresses are public information. So if you have your home address listed in the Secretary of State, everybody knows your home address or whatever address is listed for the business. So it also helps for privacy purposes to have that virtual office so that nobody knows, where you actually live at. So very, very important for that as well.
Okay, okay. Thank you, thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, I want to make sure to answer all your questions and give you a lot of information and value.
I'm just looking over, making sure. I'm pretty much I got everything that's needed. Um, and the only thing that's needed now is just to take action on everything, like with the course and stuff like that. So, is there a deadline for when this course is going to go up in price, or can I take care of this, in a couple of weeks? Because
Um,
I would love to program.
So phenomenal question. While you're on this call, you will have access to it. Now, I can't say that it'll be for a couple weeks. You'll have access to this price for a couple days, and then it would go back to normal price. So you do have a little bit of time, or like a couple days or like a week. We will periodically, open up more of these calls and kind of do some promotional material.
Okay,
But that is the best way to answer that question. You definitely want to get access to it as soon as possible.
okay, okay. I do want to. I really need to get in contact with my music manager, see if he can possibly take on some of the grunt with Tropnetic for just a moment because I really need to get involved with this because I want to learn as much as I can so we can actually take action on this stuff. So I think you did a phenomenal job breaking everything down. It don't seem too complicated. It just take a little bit of time to understand exactly what is needed to be done to actually win. And it's crazy that it's just a few. It's not really much. It's just a few things that's out of order.
That is, I love to hear that feedback. I do appreciate that because that is really what it is. Like we try to make this as simple as possible. A lot of people when they look at personal credit, personal funding, business funding, they're like, I don't even know where to begin. And we try to make it again, understand what it is, the benefits of it, how it works, and then give you the resources and tools to be able to navigate this complex industry. Because just like you said, a lot of times when people are getting denied or not getting the funding that they need, it literally is just a couple pieces of information. It's just like one or two small pieces of information can make the biggest difference between somebody getting $100,000 in funding and somebody getting $500 in funding or getting denied. And so it's very, very important that you have access to this information so that you can follow a blueprint from the very beginning so that you know where you have issues and then you can correct those issues. Because once you correct them, the opportunities are endless.
I see. I see. So I guess my last question is this right here. When it comes to let's say once you do get funded, right? Um, this money that's sitting there, will you have to pay this money back if you don't spend any of it? Because I do government contracting, so being able to have that access to be able to get funding to purchase the equipment needed to actually do these projects, um, we we may run into a situation where it's like, okay, we don't need to pay for it immediately right now, but if we have this money on standby, are we still going to be at fault for it, or how does that work?
Phenomenal question. That's a great question. So when you have the foundation for your personal and your business, you can access whatever types of funding that you need. Now, I say that to say this. The banking products that most of what I teach people to use, especially on the business side, is, excuse me, business lines of credit and business credit cards. Now, you have the opportunity to use business loans as well and apply and get approved for business loans. But this is why I tell people do the business credit cards and do the line of credit, because with the business credit card and the business line of credit, you only have to pay back a portion of what you use. So it's just like any other credit card. If you put it on the credit card, you use the expense. On the business credit card, and a lot of times, what I coach people, you get the business credit card at 0% interest. A lot of times, it's either 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, even some banks are like 20 months. So you get the opportunity now to leverage that business credit card at 0% interest, and you only pay 1% of the balance of whatever you use. So now, for example, if you use $10,000 on a 0% interest business credit card, your monthly minimum payment is only $100, and you're not being charged any interest. Now, the benefit of it is that if you have a $20,000 credit card and you use 10,000, you only pay back the portion that you use. So you only pay that 10,000. You don't pay the balance on that full 20,000. Same thing as the business line of credit. The only difference between the business line of credit and the business credit card is that the business credit card is a card. You can insert the information, you can swipe it, you can do tap to pay, whatever the case may be. A business line of credit is easier to convert to cash. So a business credit card is a card. A business line of credit it's pretty much like another bank account. Think of it like another bank account that you can draw funds for to put into your business checking account. So with the business line of credit, if you have access to $50,000 or whatever the case may be, you can either transfer that money to your business checking account or a portion of it. So in the same example, if you have a $50,000 line of credit and you only need to leverage $10,000, you would just either transfer $10,000 of that business line of credit to your business checking account, or you can write a check, like a physical check, against that business line of credit, and you only pay back what you use. Now, the reason I say to use those products, because if you get a business loan works more like the traditional loan. So it's an installment account, meaning that you have a preset amount and preset date that you pay. So with a business loan, if you take, just keep it simple, if you take a $50,000 business loan, whether you use it or not, that payment is going to start within the next 30 days or so, whenever that predetermined date is started, and you're going to be responsible for that payment every single month. Instead, that's why we talk about using the business credit card and the business line of credit. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. That actually, I didn't realize that was a fear of mine until just now. I feel like a huge amount of stress just go away just by knowing that. So
Absolutely.
I guess when it comes to the banks, will it be in best interest to come with that opportunity already? So let's say I want to go and purchase some commercial real estate property, and you know, I want to get this property. I can prove I already had an underwriter prove that, hey, this property is making what it said it's making. Would that help my chances as well too with getting the credit line, or is it just solely just based off of these things that you put down here?
So there are phenomenal question. That's an it depends question. And I'll say it depends on a couple scenarios. For one, it depends on the way that you structure the deal and the money that you have to actually bring to the table. So if you're able to do if you're doing commercial real estate, it's usually higher ticket. So it's usually, a couple 100,000 or more. Now, if you're doing residential real estate and you're doing like wholesaling, you can do it a lot less. The reason I'm saying that is because when you're dealing with residential, it's easier to get access to 50 or $100,000 from a couple different banks and leverage it that way. So in that scenario, I would say, just like I say to everybody else, I believe it's best to get the funding before you need it and have access to it, especially when you're doing the business credit cards and the business line of credit. So that way, when the opportunity arises, you already know that you have the funds and you can immediately apply those funds to whatever opportunity you have. Now, I say that to say this: if it's a commercial real estate deal and you're going to have to, go do, a 200,000 or, 300, 400,000 or, a multi-million-dollar loan, that's going to be more of an installment account. So that's going to be a business loan. So then I would say, okay, you want to make sure that you already have your plan in place and everything ready to go, because as soon as you do that business loan, again, within the next 30 days or so, whenever it is predetermined for that payment to begin, you're going to be responsible for that payment. So it really just depends on what the opportunities are and how much funding you need.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Um, and I think I understand it to the not things. I do understand it to the to the max now. I know there's some other things in there that I don't know yet, and I know that's like with the bank system because you were saying that some banks it's more than just the typical banks. I'm guessing that we see every single day. So I can see how that can be like a loophole if you didn't know.
So
So yeah, other than that, I say this thing is a go. I just need to, finish up on getting the stuff taken care of on I guess my personal credit first. Is that should be my first step is like finishing that up and then structuring my business, getting that all situated first, right?
absolutely. So I would do both at the same time. So I would work on,
Okay.
so if you need to update your business address and you need to get business domains and you need to do all that foundational stuff while you're also working on your credit, because you can be working on it simultaneously. That way, when your credit is good, you can just immediately, okay, I know that, okay, I've already got a business address, I've already got my business email address, I got my business phone number, and now my personal credit is in line. Now you are ready to pull the trigger whenever you're ready to do the funding. So I always say do them both simultaneously, again, to save on time. I want to be able to get you to cut down your time to be able to take advantage of your opportunities in the shortest time possible.
Okay.
Absolutely. Anything else I can clear up for you?
I'm down. No, man, that's it. That's it. I truly appreciate you, breaking this stuff down. You answered a lot of questions that I had myself. I'm no, like I say all the time, I'm not the brightest in the room, but I know how to put together a business. So it just really helps to have a friend that understands the stuff and that can explain it to me in great detail like this. Thank you.
Absolutely. You are very welcome. And that's 100%. I talk about that all the time. Be great at what you're great at, and then just delegate and then delegate the rest. Rely on experts, get access to information based on proven results and proven systems. And just like you said, it makes these complicated tasks that we don't know how to do it ourselves, and then they're just able to break it down. And that's exactly what this is meant to do. Take these complex ideas, be able to make it very, very simple for personal credit, business credit, be able to establish both so that you can get business funding. And then that's how you really change your life. People talk about all the time, I would change my life and I'd make this investment if I had, $5,000, or if I had, $10,000 or 20 or 30. And now we really give people the opportunity. So now that's no longer an issue. You don't have to be going out and get an investor. You don't have to be taking, 10, years waiting for a collection account to fall off. Like, identify the inaccuracies, get it off, and then now you can start to go get funding, and now you can take advantage of the opportunity. So that's exactly what this is about. I appreciate you taking the time to get on here. Again, I appreciate action takers. I really want you, to be able to take this information and implement this information. So thank you for getting on. Thank you for asking phenomenal questions. These are phenomenal questions for you. These are phenomenal questions for anybody who sees this in the future. And so again, my whole goal is just to give as much value as possible and to make this as simple as possible. So thank you. I appreciate you.
All right, man. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Um, yeah. If you guys can shoot me over the price. I'm gonna talk with my manager and see if we can get this ball rolling here fast, man.
Absolutely. We will get that over to you. We'll drop the link in the chat. The link will be dropped in the chat. And then also you will get a replay for this as well too. So you'll be able to access the information from there as well. So thank you very much. I look forward to you being a part of the program. I look forward to everybody who invests in and being able to really educate and be able to think and be able to take this to the next level. So thank you again. You have a great rest of your night.